So what we're going to do now is I'll show you the rest of the things towards the end. So to start with visualization, you have to first clear your mind, and you have to also clear your thought process. So to do that, what we're going to do now is we're going to do some very basic exercises, which I want you to do along with me. So these are some of the things which you need to keep in your mind. So the first thing that you're going to do is just scribble. So this is like a warm-up. When we are doing yoga, when you're going to the gym, you're always doing warm-up. So these are some of the warm-up things that you're supposed to do. So on an everyday basis, whenever you feel bored, you're feeling irritated or annoyed, just please start making these things. So you could be using a digital medium to draw. You could be using a paper and pen to draw. So now, currently today, I'm going to be teaching you with paper and pencil. So you're going to be doing scribbles, and then you will do lines. Most of your representation gets stuck because you start thinking how to draw. Because you actually will be very easily able to get the idea of what you have to draw. And now I'm going to change that into how to do that. So these things, so this is also another one. These are horizontal lines. It's important because you have something called as your subconscious mind, which I think is a very common thing in UX. So almost everyone will be aware of that. So what I'm going to be teaching you today will help you to first loosen your wrist, to make it very easy and simple to draw. And then in your subconscious mind, you'll start registering all the tiny elements which are there, and your mind will start observing things. Once you start making 4 or 5 items, the 100 or 1,000 other items could be made very easily by you. So for drawing anything in the world, you require very, very basic shapes and sizes. You would have learned that when you were kids. I'm going to recap that for you. Lines are the first one. You're going to have straight lines. You have horizontal lines in both the ways. The next thing is a circle. So when you're drawing a circle, I'm going to give you a small tip. So to draw a circle, first keep your hand about a ½ inch away from your paper and start drawing a circle in thin air. So please do that along with me. Then you will be able to get whether you're able to make the circle right or not. So start drawing the circle in thin air and keep going closer and closer to the paper. And the moment you touch the paper, you'll notice that you've drawn a circle. So please try that out. If you're able to get it, do a thumbs up in the chat. I'll know if you're able to follow me. So the same way you can do your ovals. Make them in thin air. And when you go closer to the paper, you will be able to make your ovals. So why are these so important? Thank you. So why are these so important? It's important because your visual representations are going to be in the form of shapes. Everything in this world can be drawn by just basic shapes, because you're going to find the skeleton of everything. I'm really happy to see that almost all of you are getting this. So you have now begun your journey into storytelling, cartooning, all kinds of art. So awesome. Now, like I was saying, everything in the world can be made with basic shapes, whether it's a human anatomy, whether it's an animal, whether it's a particular scene. So there are only 6, 7 shapes. The first 2 I've shown you here. This is again another element. The other things are a triangle, a square, rectangles. The idea is to not make it look perfect. That is never the idea. You don't have to make everything look beautiful. Symmetry is not also important. The only thing that is important is when you see this, can you recognize the shape or not? For you, is this a triangle? For you, is this a square? If it's yes, then your job is done. You're very happy with whatever you've done. Another is your trapezium. We've also done cubes and cuboids. So those also come into picture. So this is like a cheat sheet for you, where you know that these are the basic things that you need to know when you start your journey. So now from here, I'm going to talk about how to think and start with a storyline. So before I do that, I'm going to show you a few things that you will require. So whenever you're doing any kind of visual storyboards, you need to capture specific details. So these details cannot be an entire sentence. It cannot be an entire line saying, hey, ABCD is so good because so and so. So how do you take that one thing out of it? So that is something that you'll have to start training your mind. So you're going to train your mind to draw as and when you hear something. So for that, the first thing you need to do is have a visual vocabulary. So you build your visual vocabulary over time. Make sure, so one tip that I can give you is have like a separate notebook to start building your visual vocabulary. Like what I do is, if I have to do expressions, I have a book in which I've drawn like hundreds and millions of expressions. So start doing things like that. Those things are one of the things that will help you a lot to make these things. Now, the first few things that I'm going to teach you, which will help you in making your visuals, are body shapes, or let's say stick figures and things in motion. So for that, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to use all of your basic shapes, your triangles, your circles, your faces. So everything can be broken down into making a particular object in very simple ways. So for example, if I have to draw a face, what I would do is I'm going to draw it bigger so it's easier for you to see it. So expressions are a very important part of a storyline. So to draw any face, just draw any one of the shapes, whether it's going to be circle or square or triangle. Divide it in half. So I'm teaching you a slightly complicated way, which then you will over time make it a little more simpler when you're doing your expressions or stories. So why is expression so important for the field of people that we are today? It's because you're going to be expressing about your customer's discomfort. You're going to tell about his happiness, or about how annoying some feature is, or how to improve something. So for that, expressions is the most important. So when you're doing your expressions, so your eyes are going to come. So once you divide it into half, do these into two parts. And these are going to be your eyes. When you divide this into half, and then again half, or you can either take it up or down. Okay, so this could be your nose, and this is your mouth. So for the ears, it will always start with the eyes, and it will end at your nose. So this is a very simple face that you have drawn. I'm going to give you like a cheat sheet of a lot of different kinds of permutations and combinations, and then I'll teach you how to make something expressive. So here are a few examples of eyes. All you require is basic shapes. So your eyes can be dots or ovals. It can be lines like this. It can be curves. And then your nose. So another important thing that I'm going to stress about is proportion. So proportion, so there are some very basic elements which you require for storytelling. One of them are proportions. You have expressions. So you're going to build your visual vocabulary on that basis. So when you talk about proportions, it could be the height of your characters against each other. You're saying that A is bigger than B, or B is bigger than C. So you're going to take proportions, and you're going to show different factors using that. So for example, in this particular case, the same shape is being used in various proportions. I'll show you how that can be utilized. So these are some of the cheat sheets that I want you to just put down. It'll be much easier for you to understand something, because we're going to play a small game after this where you're going to take permutations and combinations and make your expressions. So after you do the nose, there are a few things of the mouth. You can have a line as a mouth. You can have a smiling mouth. So this same thing, if I simplify it, you can make a mouth like this. You can also make a mouth like this. You can make a sad face. This line can be utilized for everything. There can be lines like this. In visual representation, we always also want to show a male and a female. So for the male, it's very easy if you just add a mustache. So your mustache could be staggered lines. It could be lines like this. It could be detailed one like this. You can also have a beard. You can have a goatee. You can have a full-fledged beard this way. I might be going a little fast. If you're not able to follow me, please leave me a message on chat. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how you can utilize these to create a lot of fun faces and expressions and gender. So we'll not go too much in detail in terms of the body anatomy, because that's not required for your visual representation. For a storyboard, you only need to give a minimal method, Okay, I'll go a little slower. All right. So now I want you to make random shapes over here. So imagine you're sitting in a meeting and you have to, so somebody's telling you, saying that, hey, you know what, this feature is making the customer very angry. This feature is where a customer is feeling a little annoyed, or somebody, some stakeholder is pissed off about this, or somebody is very happy about it. So you would have done empathy maps, you would have done customer journey mapping. There have been so many places, especially in empathy map, you talk about tons of stuff. In customer journey mapping, you keep telling the person, saying, this is where he got stuck, this is where he has a problem. So if you have to represent it very fast, your expressions are going to be very useful. So in such a place, you're not going to think about making a very beautiful looking face. So you use your basic shapes. I want you to draw 5 or 6 basic shapes on this particular page. So I'm going to draw like a circle, an oval, a rectangle, a triangle, let's say also like a crazy shape. Some of us might not be able to do any of these. So for us, the kind of people who don't like these, please draw these. They make the cutest and the most amazing expressions with these. And then I'm going to draw a circle. So please draw these, and we're going to take permutations and combinations and do this. I'm also going to draw some eyebrows, and then I'll teach you or tell you how eyebrows and your, yeah, the first thing will be how eyebrows and your mouth help you in creating a lot of reactions. So for the eyebrows, they are again very easy and simple lines. Everything, like I said, can be just lines and shapes. In fact, these are very less. The more now you start drawing, the more you will start viewing or observing a lot of different expressions of different people. And you will notice that you're able to get these very easily. So in most of my drawings, I don't use a nose at all. It's because I realize it is not necessary for me to use the nose to tell a story or to tell an expression. So if that's something that you like doing, please go ahead with that. So now here, what I want you to do is I want you to divide everything into 2 equal parts. These are all approximate. You don't have to use a scale. Never use a scale, please. Make sure that even if your hands are going haywire, your lines are going crazy, it's okay. But try to avoid using a scale as much as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 expressions side by side of the same people, and I'm only going to be changing the eyebrows to show you 2 different expressions, even though I've used the same elements. So in the eyebrows, in the eyes, I'm also going to add eyes like these and these, where they are looking at, no, this is looking at that person, that is looking at this person. So here, the eyes that I'm using, you can draw along with me because you will be able to see your artwork come to life very soon now. So in the center, I'm drawing eyes like this. So I'm going to use a pen so that it's easier for you all to see. So if you're comfortable, use it. Otherwise, please continue with your pencils. And again, for this person here, I'm using the same eyes. For the nose, I'm using this big spiral. If you want to use any of these smaller ones, please feel free. So I'm making a big nose. So I hope all of us are making the same thing now. Next, for the mouth, I'm going to go a little crooked. So you can use this entire area for your mouth. Don't go above the nose. So some tips to just make sure that we don't mess up things that we are making. So here for the mouth, I'm just going to draw an oval for both of these. So far, they look exactly similar. Their expressions are same. I'm drawing the ears just as 2 C's. So start breaking down things like this is a U, this is a C. Oh, great. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the eyebrows, and you can notice how you can make these as 2 different expressions. So we're going to use these 2 eyebrows. So for the first person, I'm using this second line over here. So you're using one line like this and one this way. Now for this person, add these eyebrows. And can you see that they look completely, this person looks like he's scared and this looks like he's angry. So this is probably one of your stakeholders who is angry about something, and this is your probably your customer or you who is annoyed at that time saying, oh my God, what do I do now? So this is how you can use very small things and change a lot of stuff. This is how you tell a small story. It's the beginning of telling a story. Hairstyles are not important at all. Thank you, everybody who's been sending very nice messages. So another thing is, this is not today's class. We're not going to be looking at drawing, like we're not looking to beautify stuff. So we're looking at telling a story. So now I would suggest that hairstyles are not at all important, but I'll give you like 2-3 different tips to do your hairstyles. One is just do your lines like this. If you want to show it's a girl, then probably add a flower or not. Okay, you don't have to make it a girl or a boy. It can just be unisex. Or if you want to add hair, because you already know how to do lines, you don't need to know how to do a hairstyle. Okay, so that is one way. And then what if we have to tell a dialogue? So what you will do is you will first write the text. So here I'm writing, I'm sorry. And here he's saying, get lost. So with storytelling, you should exaggerate. Maybe he even, should have like an even more sadder expression on his face and he's like heartbroken. So something like that. So now how do you associate that this text is to this person and not to this person? So there are 2-3 ways in which you do it. One of them is you can just draw a curved line against this. So this shows that a person is talking something. Let's say there is another dialogue in between them, which says, you're fired. So who's talking this? You've written it somewhere in the middle, but it is not associated with any of them. So what you can do in this case is draw like a rectangle, but don't complete it fully. So do it till here and leave a little bit of a gap. Point it towards the person who's saying this dialogue. In this case, it's this guy. How do you point it? You draw a triangle and then you complete that. So this is the person who's saying, get lost. So another way is you draw your curves. It can be in any shape. Here I've done a rectangle. You can do a square. You can do an oval. You can do a circle. You can do anything that you want. Here he's saying, I'm sorry. And he's saying, get lost and you're fired. So this frame tells you a very big story. It tells you that somebody is being fired and he is actually sorry about it. So who's the bad person here? According to this, it's probably this guy who is firing someone without giving them an explanation, something. But what if he's actually done something else? That's when your pre and your post story will come in. You'll create a pre story where you talk about this person probably having done something like burning his clothes, and maybe after that he's got some issue. So things like that. That's how you're going to be building your story. Now to build a story, you might also need something as your actions. You have to show things in motion. Not everybody is statuary at one point all the time. So here, these 4, you start filling them with your expressions. I'm going to show this because it's sometimes difficult to make this one. So I'm doing the usual eyes, a small nose. In this, I'm going to show you how proportions work. So if I have to show an older person and a younger person, how do I do that? So if I show a really tiny nose, this becomes a smaller person. Here I should have done actually a bigger one. So let me go to a bigger one. So then this is an older person. You will see very clearly about how these things work. So when you're going to be doing any representation that way, unfortunately, go with stereotypes. Here you can just draw hair like this, or you can just, and this is done. So now there are a lot of things that you might want to show. So you might want to show that this is a boss. It's somebody who's probably 2-3 people. They're some kind of stakeholders. So how do you add those elements? So you add basic features. So you divide or you break things down into smaller pieces. Like for example, if you have to draw glasses, then glasses are made with, what are the shapes that form a pair of glasses? You break it down to its simplest part. So this is probably formed with using 2 rectangles. So draw that on your person to show that he is somebody. Maybe he is the CEO and you want to show him in that way. Distance between eyes and mouth for an older person. No, not like that. For an older person, it's the nose. So I'll show you here if we have to do an older person. Don't worry about the eyes and mouth area. It's only the nose. So the bigger the nose or the saggy the nose, the older the person will look. Also, it depends on the hairstyle that you're giving. So a quick example here. So I'm using a tiny nose, and here I'm using a big nose. I'm showing sad face, and again, I'm showing a saggy sad face. Big ears. I'm completing the same shape. So you don't have to worry about trying to draw a shape of a face. This acts as a skeleton for you. So skeleton means anything which is like a shape or an image which allows you to draw something around it. If you have to show an older person, you just draw tufts of hair in the side and nothing else. On the top, you leave him bald. Here, you can probably draw hair like this. He looks like a younger person. This looks like an older person. So generally, it's easier if you show big nose and less hair. Try to go with a guy. It's much easier to show a guy because you're not coloring. If you were coloring and if you were showing girls' hairstyles, if we have to make this into an older person, if you gave her a bun, and if you made this entire hair gray, then you would know automatically that it's an older person. So this is another way that you represent age.